Good morning, New Bethesda Baptist Church, and again, any others that may be watching out there. Good Monday morning to you. I'd like to share something from Luke chapter 7 with you this morning. It comes from Luke chapter 7, verses 18 through 23, and it starts like this. Then John's disciples told him about all these things. So John summoned two of his disciples and sent them to the Lord, asking, "Are you the one who is to come, or should we expect someone else?" And so here's what you need to know about this passage and what's going on. John is presumably, John the Baptist, that is presumably in jail at this time. And so he's in jail, but he still is hearing about the things that are happening with Jesus and the things that Jesus is doing. And so his disciples are bringing messages back to John to tell him about what's going on. And so as John sits in prison, he's wondering about how to make sense of all of this. And so rather than seeing this as a moment of doubt, though, many commentators say that this is more a moment of confusion for John. Many Jewish people around this time thought of the Messiah would come, and he would be more of a political leader. He would overthrow Roman rule. Righteous prisoners would be set free, and that would be especially pertinent to John because he was very much a righteous prisoner. But John, as he sits in prison, he recognizes Rome is still very much in power. He is still very much in prison. And so he begins to wonder, how do I make sense of all of this in light of who I thought or think Jesus is? And so he sends this message to Jesus. Now notice Jesus' reply. We pick that up in verse 22. He replied to them, "Go and report to John what you have seen and heard. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, those with leprosy are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor are told the good news. And blessed is the one who isn't offended by me." And so Jesus answers John by appealing to the things that he is doing. Jesus is saying, that's how you'll recognize I am the one. Diseases are being healed. The crippled are walking. Hurts are being healed. Those things that bind people, chains are being broken. There's good news being preached to the poor. This is how you will recognize the reality of who Jesus is. And so for many of us, this is undoubtedly a time of confusion. Many of us probably are in a moment thinking, like, this is not how I thought my year was going to go. Who could have guessed at the start of 2020 that this is where we would be? But here we are, trying to make sense of it all. And many of us, in our moments of confusion, may be thinking, where do we look? Where do we turn? How do we make sense of all this? At our lowest, we may be thinking, how do I continue placing my hope in Jesus in the midst of all of this? Is he the one, or do I need to look somewhere else? Let me encourage you by appealing to my own experience. I know that Jesus is the one that I've been looking for because of what he has done in my life. I was once lost in darkness, but now I've found light in him. I was once lost and dead in my sins, but now I have new life in him. Because of what he has done in my life, I know that to be true. I know it to be true because of what I see in other people, what I've seen him do in other people throughout history, what I've seen him do in people here today. I know the reality of who Jesus is by the things that I have seen him do. Because of those things, I have come to place my trust in him. And I hope you will too. Now, I'd like to leave you with this. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I've proved him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. Make it a great day.